As a dude who's totally unfamiliar with both of these characters and superheroes, from the get-go, I don't have a fucking clue what's going on. WandaVision.
You're all caught up.
I'm all caught up.
You've seen the 3.
I'm 3 deep.
Tell me your feelings.
Episode 1. We get right into it. Black and white. Full-blown, Nick at Night, I Love Lucy style sitcom with basically 2 characters. Wanda, the woman, and Vision, her robot husband.
Mm-hmm.
As a dude who's totally unfamiliar with both of these characters and superheroes, from the get-go, I don't have a fucking clue what's going on. Not until episode 3 with the gum situation do I even start to understand that Homeboy is legitimately not a human being. Like, the inside of his body is not organs.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's a loosely drawn cartoon of 3 gears that, when jammed with gum, cause him to basically act drunk.
Yeah,
which is hilarious. But the first episode, you really don't know what you're getting into by the end of it even. You don't... I think there was one of those sort of spooky moments in episode 1.
Yeah, it's when the boss starts choking.
Yes. And you get the feeling like, all right, and you touched on this, like there's some darkness in this show and it's very eerie. And you weren't wrong. By the time we're in episode 2 and that freaky moment happens, I mean, it really takes you out of it. You're like, fuck, dude, that was eerie. Like,
yes.
I feel...
Eerie is the perfect word. It's just straight up like kind of chilling.
Because it's, something bad is, something is off.
Something's off.
Something is very wrong. Then we start to see the neighbors, the whole situation. His neighbor's doing he's trimming his hedges. And then he trims straight through like a concrete block and then continues to go like a 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
And Vision is out in the front yard watching him. And because Vision is very clearly not a human being, he doesn't have all the normal social aspects of a normal human. So he doesn't really know how to react to this guy, which puts you in an even weirder space where you're like, what the hell is going on here?
And you do get the sense that both Wanda and Vision, they know that something is amiss.
Right.
But both are having a difficult time, it would appear, like kind of circling in on it, figuring out what exactly it is. They can't, even...
It's almost dream-esque, this whole...
Starts in the first episode. They got this date on the calendar. They don't know what the hell the date is about.
What the fuck's this circle? The heart.
The heart, right.
Yeah.
So it's all very, it's a mystery, right? And they are kind of attempting to figure out the mystery as well, if they can even fully grasp that there is this mystery to be solved, which episode 3 pushes forward a little bit. By the way, I loved the Brady Bunch setting.
Yes.
Was really good. And that's clearly where we're going here, is that each of these episodes is going to like progress a little bit further in the history of sitcoms and kind of like pick references and set designs and motifs from some of the most famous.
The intro's going to change.
The intro's going to change.
We get color, obviously. Like, it is very much an exploration of television in and of itself, which is cool. The name WandaVision lends itself to that.
Yeah. So through 3, are you hooked? Hooked by this story, even though you don't really know who Wanda Maximoff and Vision kind of are?
Yes.
So as it relates to their role in the Avengers and their comic book characters?
Absolutely. The episode 1, I'll be honest with you, wasn't entirely hooked. Like, I wasn't like all in on it or anything like that. I thought it was really fun and interesting and obviously unlike anything else I've watched in quite some time. By the time I got to the end of episode 3 and we're doing the full-blown zoom out to see that what we're dealing with is perhaps some kind of fake world
Truman Show-ish
bubble type of situation.
Back to the beginning.
That she may have built herself. I'm also... girlfriend has Marvel knowledge, all right? She knows the universe much better than I do. And she has alluded to me that there is something that occurred in the Marvel universe in the course of these more recent films that could perhaps have an impact on our storyline as it relates to WandaVision. So I'm not going to throw that out there yet because, Barrett, it could be a very big spoiler. But what we do know through episode 3 is that Wanda and Vision are operating in this is not normal world.
Right.
All right? Time isn't working correctly. Babies are brewed and born in a matter of hours. Neighbors are falling off track. It seems as if it looks like that one woman is ejected from the bubble.
Yes.
It looks like Wanda has built a world for her and Vision to inhabit.
Yeah. Yes.
In some capacity. Now, to what extent, we do not know yet. And that is the great mystery that we will start to delve into next episode, on episode 4 or whatever. But I'm absolutely hooked. I love the way this is done. And it's cool that it's like, how do I put this? Most of the things we watch have a ton of curse words, blood, sex, guts, just things that generally you couldn't really get away with watching with like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
This show, I mean, look, has its moments where it's scary, but for the most part, it is legitimately like a full-blown, this could be on a regular cable channel, right?
Yeah.
So that element of it being sort of wholesome, having a wholesome angle, is different than anything else I'm watching too.
So that actually creates a perfect segue for what I was going to say next about this show. And just to start, I want to say that a couple weeks ago, I was talking to a coworker who is on his way through the Game of Thrones books. He's almost caught up to all the books. And he's like, and then I'm going to watch the series.
So he hasn't seen the series?
Has not seen any of the series. He like made a commitment. He's going to read the books and then watch the series.
Got it.
And I got so excited for him, and it like refreshed my love for Game of Thrones thinking about seasons 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Just, I was like, this is such a treat for you that you haven't seen this yet, and that you get to go start with seasons 1 and 2, which are very good, and then get into seasons 3 and 4, which are like my 2 favorite seasons of television ever. And it really like you know, we have had a kind of an ongoing conversation about how this legacy will age and change and shift over the years, and
yes,
what will it look like when we're a year removed. And we kind of talked about that last year. And then how about 5, how about 10, so on and so forth, until we're 25 years later and we do the rewatch all over again on Patreon, and we're 70 years old.
That's the plan. Yes.
60, I guess, somewhere in that range.
Math.
And so that's the first thing is I really like just having that brief conversation and thinking about those middle seasons, which were so fabulous. Just got me like thinking about all the things that I loved about Game of Thrones and how good the series was. Okay. Fast forward, I'm watching WandaVision. I am probably in between you and your girlfriend as far as my knowledge of the Marvel universe and the comic books and the characters and their backstories and their origins and all of that. And I still have not seen Endgame, but I've seen Infinity War.
Okay.
And I think Endgame is where some of this WandaVision, Doctor Strange, multiverse stuff kind of starts coming into play.
Got it.
Which is what I think this is kind of spinning off of or spinning into.
Right. Can't tell off of or into, but it's got to be one of them.
But one of the things that I have noticed and that has, you know, that I was in tune enough with to notice is our little commercials here all include the word or the branding of Hydra. And Hydra is well known if you're, you know, a comic book fan, Marvel comic book fan, or a fan of the movies, because they are the kind of like, they are the recurring terrorist organization group that is kind of like always mucking up stuff and doing bad shit.
People say Hail Hydra? Is that a thing?
Yeah, because they at one point they're like very Nazi-ish. They're led by like some Nazis, and they have like Third Reich ties, and they make it, they kind of relate it to like real history by kind of like creating a backstory that's actually like they like kind of had something to do with Hitler and the Nazis and like all that type of stuff. And so I started doing, you know, a little bit of a dive onto like Hydra and reading the Wikipedia and all this type of stuff.
Barrett's got no free time on his hands.
So what I wanted to say here is that this show already, through 3 30-minute episodes, has me looking into the canon of these characters and reading about the history and going into like these little like, you know, down these paths to educate myself about this backstory and what does this mean and where have they been in the comic books and like what's all that to say. I'm actually, for the first time ever, because of these first 3 episodes, a little bit more like, okay, like I'm getting why people love Marvel, because just like Game of Thrones, if you're a comic book fan, the amount of canon out there, the amount of texts and world building and like incredibly, you know, long and ongoing stories about these characters is really, really fascinating. And it's the same type of thing where you have had very skilled writers and illustrators like building these things out for decades.
Right.
And so if this is the first time that I've actually felt that hook into that stuff.
Oh, you felt it hit a little. Okay.
Right. And
Got you.
because the movies don't do that for me. The movies are like, here's Tony Stark, here's Captain America, now let's accidentally ruin this city. Oh, but then everybody's fine. The city's not ruined anymore.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Like, no, there's more weight to this. There's more.
Because they've gone niche here, because they're actually like, because this is not, oh, do you like the Marvel movies? Then you'll like WandaVision. It's like, oh, these two people from the Marvel movies, which didn't get a lot of time, actually have really interesting stories. And here's their little thing over here on the side that's not actually like the Marvel movies. Now let's dig into this and explore. And it's opening my eyes up to the world of like the Marvel canon and why people are interested in those other big movies. And it's because they already, the people that are obsessed with MCU and with those movies have comic book knowledge.
Right.
They understand the characters on a different level that the movies, to me, don't ever hit on or don't ever dig into and don't ever really, they don't intrigue me in that level. And so
for people, it's like for your coworker, reading all the books for Game of Thrones and then going and watching the series, and really that's the way I ended up experiencing it. You suggested season 1 to me, I killed that in about 4 days or whatever. Then I read every book before the next season dropped. So other than season 1, that's how I enjoyed the show. And for my purposes, it was always this like, I sort of regretted it and then I sort of didn't. I hated knowing what was coming, but in the end, all said and done, because of seasons 7 and 8 in particular, I was very happy that I had that book experience and knowledge, and it certainly played into how much I became obsessed with the show, the universe, all these different side stories and shit that you could get into in the text and the reading online, and like that level of depth that you're speaking to that makes the hook for Marvel.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense. I totally understand why it's not my thing, though.
You talked about like the adult themes, right? Like just like sell me on it. I'm automatically going to gravitate towards Game of Thrones, which is like still not real world, but it's a more realistic world with a more adult themes about family and sex and love and
many normal
violence
characters
and
dealing with
war
things, though.
and all of this type of stuff.
Not everybody has a fucking superpower.
Yeah, so that's an easier sell and a more automatic, like, yeah, I'm into that than like some Titan caped up crusaders in green spandex and like superpowers. Right. On the surface, that's more interest. The one is more interesting to me than the other. But it's and then this got me thinking, well, like, man, should all the Marvel stuff just been TV series?
Right.
But at the same time, like, you don't have one of the best parts about the action movies is the action, and you need those giant budgets, and you can't do that over the course of 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Although WandaVision is apparently the most expensive television show per episode ever made.
What?
Yeah.
How the okay, there must be a lot going on in these back half of this thing.
I mean, but even just look at, like, they're doing an entirely different set. They are literally building a new house set for every single episode.
Okay, good point.
I
can see how this was expensive. Never mind. Yeah.
And I'm sure that there is some more Marvel-y movie stuff.
Right, I'm sure there's some stuff coming up. Well, even in the zoom out at the end of episode 3, you're like, you get the feeling, they could have spent some money here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just it's kind of bittersweet because it's like I totally love that I am getting the feel for what makes this genre
of Marvel is in particular, because you and I have been so confused by it,
interesting and so appealing to so many people.
Yeah.
But the movies, which really just like barely scratch the surface on this type of stuff to me, and don't really give you an opportunity to learn about
more mainstream audience, certainly.
And so in a way, they just kind of like do almost like a disservice to the comic books.
I know what you mean. They lose the depth and that sort of niche feel where you get that in WandaVision, you know?
And so I'm loving this through 3 episodes. I'm very, very hooked. I love both of our main characters. The story is cool. And building on this mystery and like letting me kind of like drift in the wind and being like, oh my God, what does Hydra have to do this? What is the sword pendant? What is sword? What is shield? Remind me what all this stuff is again. Is like it now not only do I like the show, but I'm also getting that like secondary, kind of IV drip of like, oh, now let me also go read about this stuff on the side.
Oh, they got you good.
Yeah.
If you're reading about this shit on the side, then you're in.
Yeah.
And man, now you've got me thinking to like, what shit did I miss in those first 3 episodes that I need to go Google and look at? I wanted to bring something up before we forget today too.
There are apparently like just dozens of Easter eggs in every single episode.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm going to spend a lot of time on Google this afternoon.